لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We're talking about, or we're reviewing Umdah al-Ahkaam Kitab al-Siyam. Siyam is the fourth pillar of Islam, and it comes the obligatory fast in the month of Ramadan. The scholars differ as to the meaning of Ramadan. What does Ramadan mean? Some of the scholars said that it refers to a time of the year which is hot, a hot season, and this is the time that the people of Jahiliyyah used to use as the name of this month, and is continued within Islam. Others from the scholars have stated that Ramadan refers to heat, but the heat that just like there is heat, Ramadan is the month that extinguishes sins. So Ramadan, yes, it is hot, it's the month, that is the essence of it, but the reason why it's stuck with Islam is that it is the month of Tawbah and Maghfirah. Others from the scholars have said that no, it just refers to a time of year, just like Rabi'. Other months in the Islamic calendar, we have Rabi' al-Awwal and Rabi' al-Thani, which is basically the meaning of spring. Ramadan, the closest meaning probably would be summer. So this has stuck with it. Whatever the case, Ramadan is a time when it is hot and a time of maghfirah. If we contemplate on Ramadan and the purpose of fasting, Allah has commanded us in His Kitab over and over again that we have only been created with one purpose, and that is to worship Him, and that He has directly told us to remain steadfast on this, and remember that Shaytan is our enemy, and not for us to die except as Muslims. But how do we die except as Muslims? What is the way? How can we obtain that? What is the way that we can obtain this goal? Allah tells us in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in the state of Islam. So here we have an indication that we can only die and live as Muslims in a way that Allah is pleased with us is if we have taqwa. And taqwa is to do what He has told us to do and stay away from what He has told us to stay away from. And others from the Salaf defined it as meaning placing a barrier between you and the hellfire. So anything that will cause you harm in the akhirah, you should abstain from. Now if we look at the wording here, Allah has used the word taqwa here to gain His pleasure. Allah has used the word taqwa here for you to be a true slave that submits to Allah and that you die in that state. But the same wording has been used when it comes to Siyam, where Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. That fasting has been made prescribed for you or legislated upon you, just like it was legislated on those people before you, so that you may attain a taqwa. So here we can directly see that fasting has an impact on your level of taqwa and your level of Islam, and it can help you program yourself so that you become a Muslim in your life and that you die in the state of Islam in the way that Allah wishes for you, that you live every day as if you are fasting, as if you have this taqwa, as if you are doing what Allah has told you to do and staying away from what He has told you to stay away from. In this hadith number 189, this is our fifth sitting, and Aisha wa Salamah أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يدركه الفجر وهو جنوب من أهله ثم يغتسل ويصوم. And Aisha and Salamah both narrated that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to come to Fajr, or the time of Fajr would come, and he is impure from his family, as in he's had relations with his family, and then he would fast, then he would have ghusl and then fast. So the time of Fajr, or the fasting has already begun, and the Prophet ﷺ does the ghusl afterwards. This has been narrated by more than one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. In this hadith we have some fawaid, and one of the benefits of this hadith is that Kana is being used to talk about, normally the word Kana is used to talk about something which is reoccurring, but here the word Kana has been used. Kana yudrikuhu al-fajr, Kana yudrikuhu al-fajr, and the normal the origin of the word kana, like we said before, is that something that continues reoccurringly. However, if there comes an evidence which tells us that there is no reoccurrence, then the kana in its origin is not used. This is a fa'idah that we can probably benefit in usul as well as the lugha. But the appearance of this hadith is that the Prophet ﷺ used to be impure, and the fasting would start, and then he would have his bath or ghusl afterwards, and this would not affect the siyam. And this hukm appeals or applies also to the person who is menstruating, or the person who is in fast, or any kind of janabah that a person may be in. That the fajr time can begin, but the person, as long as they've intended to fast before the time of fajr has begun, even if they are impure, the fast is sahih, and they will need to have a bath in order to pray. So having a bath doesn't affect the validity of the fast, but it affects the validity of the prayer. However, the scholars have stated that just because one can enter siyam in the state of janabah doesn't necessarily mean that it is prescribed for him to delay his bath. I mean, they should hasten to do the bath so that they can pray fajr at its appropriate time and in congregation for the men. However, there is permissibility in this hadith that the person who is in sexual impurity or any kind of impurity, that they can delay the bath, because the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith has been described as going to his family and then going to sleep and then waking up and then having a bath. So here the bathing has been delayed. So here we have the permissibility of delaying the bath from any kind of impurity. However, like we said before, the scholars have stated that if this is going to affect your salah and your ability to perform the salah correctly and in its proper time, then this is something that is not befitting. The scholars here have also differed in the different wordings of this hadith. In this particular narration, it's narrated that the Prophet ﷺ used to approach his family and he used to be in a sense of impurity and begin his fast. There's another narration in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Salamah alone, that the Prophet ﷺ used to arise in the morning or wake up in the morning impure, without any form of what can we say, a wet dream, so to speak, and then he would fast. Now here is a mas'ala that the scholars went into, is that is it possible, despite the fact that the Prophet's dreams are a form of wahi, is it possible for the Prophet ﷺ to have these kind of dreams? Is it possible? And this is a mas'ala that the scholars have discussed, and there is great khilaf on this issue as well. So it's not something that is idle. Rather, we are talking about the fact that can the Shaytan affect the dream of the Prophet ﷺ, and would this affect the risala of the Prophet ﷺ? This is basically the implications of such a claim that some of the people have made. Some of the scholars have outright rejected it. They said, no, it is not possible for the Prophet ﷺ to have any form of dream like this. And the reason for this is because the Prophet ﷺ has described these type of dreams in Bukhari and Muslim, that wal-hulum min ash-shaytan, wal-hulum min ash-shaytan, that wet dreams and erotic dreams are from a shaytan. Another view is that it is possible. And the permissibility of it is this hadith that we have here. Not the one in Umdah al-Ahkaam, but the second narration that we had narrated from Salamah in the Hadith of Muslim, which is that the Prophet ﷺ has been described by Salamah that the Prophet ﷺ used to wake up not from a wet dream, and then he used to fast. From this, some of the scholars have stated that it is possible for them, the Prophet ﷺ, to have this kind of dream. Otherwise, Salamah would not have negated it. There wouldn't be no need to mention it. So some of them said it is possible. But the third view, which seems to be the most balanced view, and is the view that Some of the scholars of today, like Sheikh Albani and others, have stated, Ibn Hajar, others. I mean, like I say, this issue is a very detailed issue, and many of the kibar from the past and the present have all entered it. But the view that stands out to be the most correct is that it is possible. However, it would be biological or psychological, but not the blameworthy type, which is affected from Shaytan. This is possibly the best way we can combine all the evidences, and the detail into this is very long, but it is a side benefit, and it is something that we can benefit from, just in case if somebody tries to tarnish the reputability or the trustworthiness of this religion. Also in this hadith we have an evidence that the Prophet ﷺ's actions are a proof for his ummah. So the Prophet ﷺ had relations with his family, went to sleep and he woke up, and this action or this sense of delaying or entering into a siyam whilst in the state of Janabah doesn't affect your fasting, because the Prophet ﷺ himself did it. However, some of the companions were of the view that it is a condition that you enter into a siyam whilst being pure, and this was the view that has been narrated by Abu Hurayah and others from the Salaf, like Urwa ibn Zubair and others. And it is also narrated that Abu Hurayah himself explicitly said in a narration which is Hasan, which is good, that the person who man asbaha junubun fala sawma lah, that whoever wakes up or enters into the fast whilst impure, then there is no fasting for him. However, the scholars have stated, that the majority of the scholars have stated that this hukum is old, is abrogated. And the reason for that is that the wives of the Prophet ﷺ explicitly stated something opposite to what Abu Hurayra and others from the companions have stated. Also, we have a qaida or principle, is that if the companions differed on something and we have something talking about the Prophet ﷺ's personality or something, the Prophet ﷺ's personal life, then the view or the statements of the mothers of the believers, those who are closest to him, those who are able to witness closer to him, takes precedence. And this is, inshallah, the correct opinion, is that it is abrogated, because we have two mothers of the believers, Aisha and Salamah, both of them stating the Prophet ﷺ did this. Therefore, the statement of Abu Hurayra would be an old and abrogated hukam. And I ask Allah to make this beneficial for myself and for you. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.